Aloha. John Arnold here, for those of you who don't know who I am yet. Um, I'm videoing from my home here on the magnificent Kona coast of the big island of Hawaii. I've been here for about 2.5 years and love where I am. When I first came here, um, it was my intention to live off grid if I could find a great place and live very, very simply. Um, Life had another dream in store for me, one that I apparently wasn't aware of. And I find myself living in this beautiful home in high country um, Hawaii at about 2,300 feet and loving every minute of it. Um, I'm I'm taping today, or I'm on live today to um, introduce myself and to introduce the what I'm doing with the new wave of light energy frequency that's moving through me. Um, Let me begin with a little history. Um, Not too far back, not from like when I was born, right? About 40 years ago, um, I was a young married fellow, um, and we were at my wife's family's summer place, and I was sunning myself on the deck, and a voice inside of me that I was very unfamiliar with said um, very clearly to me, um, I call you John the Giant Slayer. I laughed. I laughed. I don't think I even told my wife that that happened because I thought it was bizarre. I thought it was crazy. And I think it was a long time before I actually shared that with anybody. A very short time after that, however, um, I, my wife and I went off to a, um, a Bible school in upstate New York. And while there, during a week of prayer, I'm laying on the floor in the chapel, um, completely contrite, um, genuinely seeking the face of God. And the room was silent. And again, in my heart, a voice said with clear articulation, "You're on planet to set captives free." Should have made a Bible school student happy to hear such a thing, I would have thought. But I swore out loud. I said, "Oh, S word," right out loud in the silence of the room, and my poor wife was mortified. Um, I wasn't I wasn't ready to hear that, or I guess I was, or I wouldn't have heard it. However, I wasn't ready to take that seriously. I I realized in that moment that I was so ill prepared if I was ever to set captives free because I had become captive of um, my own life. That brings me um, to another 20-year leap. Um, I was sitting in my truck. I owned a landscape business in Seattle. Sitting in the truck having lunch with my business associate, who I most often had lunch with. And she announced to me that she wasn't going to be able to have lunch with me any longer because every time she did, she got indigestion because it was so miserable being around me because I was so miserable. Of course, that felt pretty painful to hear, but it was true. I was completely miserable. Um, the very next day, I heard from a woman who is now a well-known author, speaker, these very pivotal words for me. These words pierced my heart and changed my life. She said, "You're not who you think you are. Aren't you glad?" I remember being in my truck by myself when I heard those words. It was on a cassette tape. And I was so ecstatic. I screamed in my truck and said right out loud that if I'm not who I think I am, I'm more than glad. I am absolutely ecstatic, and I need to know who I am if I'm not this miserable guy. Life is a journey, and we wish it was a linear one, right? It seems like it would be a so much more efficient use of our time. Fast forward another bunch of years and a lot more life experience, and I find myself here, retired, living on Hawaii. And very recently now, I have had a transformative experience into a higher version. I say what I've experienced is I stepped into a future version of myself that I was totally unaware of and pretty much unprepared for, or I thought. So the reason I'm making the video today, and the reason I shared all that backstory with you, is because in this video I want to announce that I am launching a brand new heart-based business. And my business is the business of setting captives free. Slaying the giant, if you will, that I have managed to, I don't want to say slay because that sounds violent. I have lovingly, intuitively, with kindness and joy, released myself from my own giants and set myself into the liberty of being who I am. My new business I am calling Walk on New Earth Now. And I'm so excited to announce that I found a place to initiate a gathering of souls who are interested, who are drawn to release of themselves, who resonate with the call to emerge into their released self. Wow, where do I go from here? I want to share with you my own experience and the tools that I have accumulated, that I've utilized to release myself. And I think big, huge piece of the reason that I want to do this is because so many times on my own personal journey, I wished I had an in-person mentor. I wish I had one who could say, been there, done that. Let me show you your way through that. Let me show you yourself and your way through that for you. And that's the gift that I now carry, and the gift that I now want to share with you. And I'm really excited to do that. So I'll be announcing soon what time, what place, and what day we'll initiate this this gathering of souls, if you will. What do I want to say about that? What do I want to say about that? when I get to this point, what do I want to say? You know what? I don't have to live stream today. I don't have to live stream today. Michelle asked me to do that, and I think that's really a good thing.